What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another chance encounter. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built. I'm joined today with Cleann Cameron. How you doing today, Cleann?
Hi there, Dan. Doing well, thank you. How about you?
Oh, I'm great because I got my favorite audience member here today. And why is my favorite audience member here today? It's because this is a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate investors. And the whole point is you need to get to know each other. It helps that it's the law, but you have to see if there's any sort of overlap in your business. So I focus in these interviews on, why are you involved in this? And then I pull out the Dan Does Deals commercial roll die, which you can get your own copy at dandoesdeals.com, and that has the 6 core roles in a commercial deal so that we can find out what my guest's main contribution to a deal would be. But before we get too far into that, Cleann, could you please introduce yourself a little bit to the audience?
Absolutely. So I work in tech right now, but on the side, I have begun, or it recently became an apartment investor. So I'm investing in real estate, and apartment syndication is my first venture
Mhm.
into the real estate world. And then I also own a rental property as well, a single family.
All right, good.
But
So,
that
mhm.
kind of sums it up about me. I'm out here in Houston, Texas, and looking for other apartment deals.
Beautiful, beautiful. So the first thing I'm going to start going through here is the motivation piece. And the reason why I go through that is sometimes, we have people who have done no investments yet on this show, but the important thing is people know why they're doing what they're doing, but they might not know what they're actually going to be contributing to the deal. So I like to get that out of the way first. So the first motivation I found is some people are eager to preserve their purchasing power, and what that means is they've already got the assets and they rely on the cash flow that comes from those assets to make ends meet. But if inflation rears its ugly head, like right now, there's a good chance they have to make additional acquisitions in order to increase that cash flow. So that's really what a lot of people are up to, but that's not my primary motivation right now. My primary motivation, because of my tech background, I had a CRM agency that I help different sponsors with, and one of the problems with being in tech or being a high earner in general is that you're giving away half of everything you earn in the form of tax. And so it hit me. It's like, well, why don't I pivot to something where I'm not going to have that problem? And so this is what I'm up to in commercial real estate. It's to build that equity rather than just get all my income in the form of salary or wages. But a lot of people get into commercial real estate because they want to fast track their retirement, but more accurately, it's about taking control of your time. So maybe it means actual retirement, or maybe it just means you want to work fewer weeks per month, or fewer months per year, or fewer hours per week. But that sort of like downshifting to an easier life with less hustle, that's a little bit different from the next two groups who are going to keep on hustling into their 90s. The prime example would be the people who are so ambitious they want to buy their entire hometown. They are looking for that legacy wealth. They're going to keep hustling into their 90s because they want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to get a day job. So that would be the second to last one. But the last group, they've usually found some sort of sector of society, or maybe it's animals in the environment. Maybe they want to send people to Mars. Who knows what it is? But they realize that to help the people or whoever the benefactors are in the most effective way, you need to get your financial situation really substantial. So those are the 5 different motivations. And of those, Cleann, what resonates with you? What combination of those sounds the most like you?
The most, I would say, what resonates with me right away is the fast track to retirement and the tax benefits.
All
Yeah,
right, awesome.
those are the things I really, um, was looking to get out of my initial investments.
All right,
And then
awesome.
another revenue stream as well.
Right, right. Yep, that makes lots of sense. So, speaking of revenue streams, I was attracted to commercial real estate because of the cash flow. Is one of the biggest things. You know, there's like the building the equity is the bigger one on the long term, but I just am not a fan of assets where it's only an appreciation game. So, one quick question before we get too excited here, talking about risk, which is, can you please name one asset class or something that's popular that you personally think is a little bit too risky?
Well, I mean, for me, even the stock market, I mean, and I invest in the stock market, but I do understand that it is a risk every time I do that because you absolutely are dependent on buying low and selling high, and you don't always have that opportunity.
I love it. I love it. So let's get on to the specifics about the deal making. And don't forget, you can go to dandoesdeals.com to get your own copy of this Dan Does Deals commercial roll die. And I don't even ask for your email address. So, from a marketing perspective, that's a really dumb idea. But let's go through these just so that you can communicate effectively on the topic of commercial real estate. So let's start off with repositioners. Most people in commercial real estate have some sort of repositioning role because they have to look at a bunch of deals. But somebody who's purely a repositioner, they're looking at a bunch of different properties, and the thing that they're doing with it is there's a fancy word for it. First, they're underwriting it, which means they're doing the math. They're finding out, is this property actually even making the amount that the seller is saying that it is? And that's because if you're an acquisitions person, you're dealing with sellers. But after they underwrite it, they're thinking about the repositioning part, means that they're changing something about how it's run or just finding upside somehow in the property. And the repositioners really have three different tools in their tool belt to pull that off. The first one is more advantageous lending. So they can go to fund managers and different banks, something like that, and so they can get a better deal on the money. But usually the first step in making a business more profitable is focusing on operations, cutting expenses, making it more efficient, making sure that those Benjamins don't keep on going down the toilet there. But of course, there's more to operations than just collecting rent and mowing lawns, shoveling snow if you're up north, things like that. There's also a marketing part, which is one of my fortes. And the important thing about marketing is that keeps the vacancy rate low. So that's the operations piece. But right now, real estate's so hot, operations on its own is probably not going to cut it. So the other tool in their tool belt is the contractor team. So they do what's called a value add. Okay, in other words, they renovate the property so that it's actually nicer, and then that way you can attract tenants that can afford to pay more in rent, and so that's pure upside. But if you're a repositioner and you're from the internet like I am, you're going to need a local. You're going to need some boots on the ground. You're going to need somebody who can be there in an hour or two, because that's not going to be me. I don't even want to have to get my passport. But if you have the local, the contractor team, the repositioner, and the operation standing in a row, most tenants would say, oh, well, those are the owners. But of course, the financiers are also involved. And those banks and fund managers and all that kind of fun stuff, they're going to be asking one other question, even after they've seen this team in the property and got an idea for the deal. They're going to be asking, who's your KP? Who's your
Right.
main sponsor? And sometimes in training and coaching programs, they kind of gloss over this one, but just so you know why it's required, it's to be eligible for the loan. So if you want to buy a 150 unit, a 350 unit, or whatever size apartment complex, and you want to be eligible for the loan, somebody in the fold has to already own a similar asset, or the bank's just going to say no. You also need to have a certain amount of liquidity, and then you also have to have a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan. But if you have all those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So, Cleann, as far as your core competencies goes, I know that you've got a couple properties that you've been working on. So you're on the newer side. But what roles do you see as your most likely contribution?
So right now I'm just a limited partner, Dan.
So it's a form
But
of
I
financier, right?
right, right. But I do in the future see myself going towards general partner,
Hmm.
and that might begin with capital raising.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, that's kind of what I'm thinking initially,
Sure, sure. And you have to have some additional role, at least on a 506B anyway. You have to have some sort of role to be on the GP team. So, like, you mentioned you're in Houston, so like, is that one of the big spots that you're looking for in your deals, or are there some operations that you'd be willing to contribute?
Right. So I think Houston would be my next market. I started out in the Austin market. That
Hmm.
was my first investment. So I am looking to expand into the Houston market
Okay,
and
great.
more, yeah,
All
and
right.
probably going to be able to assist with those operations as well.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. So then, as far as an ideal property goes, I guess I should mention that when commercial investors are talking to each other about a buy box or their ideal property, they're really asking about three main things. The first one's geography. Where is it? So, what state, what counties, what neighborhood, even, what zip code? That's all part of the geography and is absolutely paramount for people's investment profiles. The second one, we're talking about multifamily right now. So it's a unit count, okay? Unit count is going to be a part of multifamily, also mobile home parks, self-storage, and retail. But if it's industrial, commercial, then you'll be looking at square footage, as well as the warehousing would be another one that's in square footage. But you're going to need to have some sort of idea how big. And then the third one, I sometimes say they're three and a half. The third one is actually two parts that are both called the same word, which is the class of the property. So the two different meanings of the word class. First one is the condition of the building. So is it old and beat up, or is it brand new and immaculate? Gold-plated toilets and whatnot. The other version of class, it has to do with where the property is in terms of what's the crime rate like, what are the school districts like. So that's the third one right there. So as far as properties that are more or less ideal for you, Cleann, what should people be bringing to you?
I would like to start more in the Class B
Hmm.
uh, properties. Yes,
Hmm.
I know a little bit about the Class A, Class C, and I just feel like Class B would be my sweet spot right now.
Hmm. Hmm. And the unit counts.
I haven't quite narrowed that down yet, but right now that first deal had over 100 units.
Hmm.
I would be open to a little bit less if it needed to be in
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
Class B. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And then as far as geography, is it only in the state of Texas, or only in those couple cities, or are you interested in elsewhere as well?
I'm interested in the state of Texas right now. Yes.
Okie dokie.
Although
Okay.
I would say I wouldn't close the door on another deal. I just would have to look at the numbers and see. But my primary market is going to be in the state of Texas, all over the state of Texas.
All right, great, great. So my next question, it comes from the fact that because commercial real estate is so multifaceted, uh, nobody is all of the sides of the die all at once, and so people tend to be better suited to help some people more than others. Some of them, it's more on the they like to talk to beginners, but me personally, I'm always on the lookout for more sponsors and KPs, and that's because of my marketing and digital background with the CRMs and whatnot. So that way they have some sort of foundation already set up, so I can actually be the fuel to the fire rather than the grunt work that just about anybody would be able to do off at the beginning. So that's who I'm looking for. But Cleann, for you, who are you best suited? Who would you be most excited to hear from, as far as if they reached out to call you?
I would be very excited to hear from a general partner who has successfully, invested in an apartment syndication deal or who's successfully sponsored one because, that's where I'm least experienced.
Mhm.
And so I feel like, I would be able to offer them something. They would be able to, offer me that learning, that mentorship. So that's
Mhm.
kind of where I am right now.
Beautiful, beautiful. And the best way to reach out to you, we met through some meetups, and I find those
Yeah.
meetups generally through LinkedIn. I spend a ton of time on there. Is LinkedIn the best way to reach you, or is there a website that's better or something?
Yes, LinkedIn would be the best place to reach me. Yes,
All right, great.
Cleann.Cameron.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and you got that distinctive first name, which is always a great thing on the internet. It's such a drag when you're talking to John Smith and it's like so that's really really good stuff. But that's really awesome. The only thing I have left, it's actually for you in the audience, which it has to do with this social campaign that I've got. It's called Stop the Red Buttons. See, if you look under my left hand, you'll notice there's this great big ugly red button, and you should get rid of it. And the only way to get rid of it is you just click on it and then it turns gray. And the nice thing about that gray button is it means that YouTube will start to pay for these videos instead of me. And isn't that better? All jokes aside, what it really means is that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions, but there's no guarantee of that. And plus, you can go ahead and ignore them if you want. After all, you've done me an enormous favor by joining and watching today. Just like Cleann, you've done me an enormous favor by joining me today. It's been great getting to know you a little bit better.
It's been my pleasure, Dan.
Awesome. Thanks. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me. Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay, are you already logged into 506BME?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506B me, everybody.